Okay, well, I think we're back here. So you're going to see this video in two parts. Was we were talking about the over under for the Rockies. We got about a segment and a half of the way done, and the internet decided to not work. So on the YouTube side, you're going to see a couple of changes here to the podcast. But just giving you a heads up, I'm just going to do a part one, part two, just kind of roll with it. That's how these things go with. But we're talking in the first part and the beginning part of the segment number two. There it was about how the Rockies, the win total of 65 and a half, is set by the our friends at FanDuel, and we were also talking about the possible issues that would happen with the Rockies if they were to hit that under on the 65 and a half. And to answer Lux Ace's question, no idea what happened. The internet decided to just go out on me. So I'm going to pick back up on our conversation here where we left off in part number one, which was talking about how if the core prospects, if the new prospects of the Rockies were underperforming, and basically we were setting the stage of if they underperform, if the prospects don't play well or just solid baseball, that's a third of your lineup not playing up to snuff. So what does that mean for the Colorado Rockies? That means that's far too much of your lineup and far too many of your players that are an issue for the Colorado Rockies. They are going to be essential. It is essential for the Colorado Rockies' success this year that the Rockies' main prospects are playing good ball, are capable of handling the game at the major league level. And the only reason Tolia is being sent down is because there's just simply not enough room and they need to get him up right away. The Rockies have to be willing to trust these prospects, and I think they are. But the Rockies prospects have to be ready for this situation, ready to step up and go after it. And then the big thing too, the biggest question mark remains, even with these changes, even with these things even with these new faces in the Rockies bullpen having and veterans now in the Rockies bullpen, because big difference is how many veterans are going to be in the Rockies bullpen this year. The pitchers, if they don't perform, if the bullpen can't help the Rockies win one-run games, if the Rockies continue to lose games because of being in a tight ball game all the time, and then it's 3 runs scored in the seventh because they don't have any middle relief, and a solid start from Rockies pitching is wasted, that will spell doom for the Rockies. The Rockies need consistency and good enough pitching. I still think that we're going to have to see more from some of the Rockies pitchers. And I do believe in the changes and stuff that the Rockies, they are capable, but we saw what happened last year. We saw how things can go really wrong for German Marquez and Kyle Freeland this year. And if they continue to keep getting hit around and people keep leaving the yard and German keeps throwing the pitches down the middle of the plate and people are hitting home runs, big time issues for the Colorado Rockies. So I know the tech issues kind of got in the way of things there, but basically to summarize how the Rockies will hit the under on 65 and a half for this year, it would basically be, I think, 3 things. Chris Bryant's health continues to be an issue and he stays out of the lineup. The Rockies prospects underperform and the pitching continues on a downward trend instead of an upward trend. That's a lot to go wrong for the Rockies. 65 and a half wins. That's 3 more wins basically than 100 losses. And at Rock's Hot Takes has an interesting point here. The Rockies have only ever finished below 65 and a half wins twice in their history. I don't see it happening this year, but anything can happen. Rule changes, health, etc. I'll still take the over, and I still think you should take the over as well. And I'm going to tell you why I think you should take the over on 65 and a half wins for the Rockies coming up here in segment number 3. Thank you for making Locked On Rockies your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming service. For your second listen of the day, why don't you go make Locked On MLB Prospects your second listen of the day? Lindsey Crosby actually just talked to Ezequiel Tovar and Colorado Rockies farm system not too long ago. So if you're looking for a new, fresh dive into the Rockies farm system, Locked On MLB Prospects has you covered. And of course, Locked On NBA. If you're looking for more stuff in the NBA, we got you covered on the Locked On Podcast Network because we got the Locked On Nuggets, we got the Locked On Avalanche for your NHL coverage, and we got the Locked On Broncos podcast as well for your football coverage. Let's dive into the live chat and discuss why I believe the Rockies will hit the over on the 65.5 win total set by our friends at FanDuel.com. Luxace says, I think we can get a 70-win season with the healthy KB, and Ezequiel Tovar will lock it down at shortstop. Ezequiel Tovar, NL Rookie of the Year. Here's the thing. The Rockies will hit the over if they have a Rookie of the Year candidate. Plain and simple. If one of the on the complete opposite, and this is obvious, if the Rockies prospects show up, if the Rockies prospects show out, that is massive. The Rockies have a new wave of young, fresh talent that's going to wash over this team and completely change the perception of them. If Ezequiel Tovar can continue the legacy of shortstop in Colorado Rockies history of being the next breakout star for the Rockies, that will be massive because the Rockies then will have up the gut two really, really great, exciting middle infielders. Yet again, a defensive stud at third who hopefully is going to be taking steps upwards instead of stagnation. I really don't think outside of defense, Ryan McMahon necessarily regressed last year. He didn't necessarily take a lot of steps forward as well. And then first base is going to have a lot of interesting options as well. But I think if Tovar is in the Rookie of the Year conversation, the over is looking even better. And if any of the Rockies prospects are exciting enough and good enough to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation, they will help the Rockies win and take on the over easy. Let's see. Caleb Cole says, who will the Rockies starting pitchers be? It'll be Kyle Freeland, it'll be German Marquez, it'll be Jose Urena, and then it will probably be a combination of Ryan Feltner and Austin Gomber. They also might be looking at, is it Peter Lambert? I think Peter Lambert. I'm sorry. Peter Lambert's going to be is clear to go. So that's my guess at who the starting five is going to be until Antonio Senzatella comes back for the Rockies there in May. Let's see here. Eric Harper says we need to trade for a bona fide ace. That's going to be tough. I mean, I don't necessarily know how much of an ace you'll get. But a package with McMahon and Crone, that's going to be the thing. The Rockies' biggest trade piece is going to be CJ Crone. And this leads us into Ryan Tarlowski's question. Sorry if I missed this answer, but why haven't the Rockies made a bigger effort to clearly make Montero a part of the plan moving forward? This is a question I've been asking. And I really don't know. Montero was part of it. I mean, if Gomber wasn't the big piece, it's how is Montero not being poised, and how is Montero not being focused on the same way that we're focusing on Ezequiel Tovar? I really don't know. Montero, to me, has huge, exciting player potential, but it's incredibly weird to think that I don't actually know where he's going to start on the opening day roster. Montero should be starting on opening day, but I don't know where he's going to start. Because CJ Crone and Ryan McMahon are going to play first and third, and DH is probably going to be taken by Charlie Blackmon. Alarys Montero starting the year on the bench doesn't sit right with me. I think he's someone that needs to be getting as much consistent playing time as possible, and we'll have to see what that means for the spring. So through the spring, I should say. But I do think Montero needs to be a bigger part of the plan. Absolutely. So let's talk about what the Rockies, how they hit the over. And again, this is, I think, kind of the more sure thing. Again, Rockies have we heard Rock's Hot Takes told us only 65 and only hit the under twice. people might not think about it, but the Rockies did get better this offseason. They're getting one of their biggest players hopefully healthy. They have a refreshed bullpen. They have honestly, the Randall Grichuk thing might be a bigger deal. One thing I didn't talk about in the under is they haven't lost a tremendous amount. Carlos Estevez is probably the biggest piece the Rockies lost in free agency this offseason. There's no one else really that the Rockies lost that will make the Rockies necessarily worse outside of, I think, Carlos Estevez. But this is a team with a tremendous amount of potential. And a potential to not, and it's not like potential, as much as we want to say potential to do big things, it's a potential to succeed in the idea of they are performing well, they are handling the pitching, and they are consistent, and they're winning the close games. Because when you're a young team like the Rockies are probably going to lose a lot of close games this year. But they'll be in close games, and that'll be because of that. And they're going to win more of those close games because I'm more confident that the veterans in the bullpen are going to help this team be better this year. I'm more confident that these players that the Rockies have been able to add through waiver wire transactions are making them better and actually giving them some veteran depth and veteran length in some places that they haven't had in a while. And to be totally honest, there's nothing for me to be completely discouraged by any of these prospects that are going to play. There was a lot to like about the way a lot of these prospects handled their time with the Rockies last year. They're a young team. They have new things. And I think that, again, the Rockies have two players that could completely change everything. Brendan Rodgers being not abysmal at the dish, coming out the gate and starting and swinging the bat well, will help the Rockies win games in April and March and May, which will make them able to. This is basically the Rockies stinking for an entire season, and there's going to be even last year the Rockies had moments where they put together a couple of weeks of good baseball. And here's one of the big things too. I think one of the biggest things to consider for this year. I don't think the Rockies are going to be as bad at home as they were last year. One of the weird things about the team last year was their inability to win at Coors Field. This should be a team, and hopefully guided by Chris Bryant playing a full, healthy year at Coors Field, that's going to change things. I think this team is going to be a much better team at home this year. I think Chris Bryant is going to make a massive impact. I think the small changes and the veteran depth in the bullpen are going to help the Rockies win more close games. I'm still not ready to call them a fringe wildcard team until the season starts, until we see this team get on a roll, until we see this team play consistent enough baseball. I am not sitting here saying that this team hasn't, just because they're going to hit the over 65.5 in my eyes because of those reasons. I don't think that necessarily gives them enough to immediately plant them in the wild card conversations. I still think they're too far. I think their offense doesn't have enough yet. I think this team still doesn't. The starting pitching depth is still worrisome, especially with the fact that the whole rotation still isn't going to be ironed out, and we still don't have anyone necessarily that you feel super duper confident in throughout the rotation at this point. I mean, I'm confident in who I know in Herman and Kyle Freeland. And again, Jose Urena did have a good stretch with the Rockies, but I just think that those are the issues. But this is not a 65 win team. I'm sorry. Like, it's just not like the one thing that the outside, the perspective, of course, of the Rockies doing nothing, not by enough. Yes, of course they could have done more, but I don't look at this roster and I'd immediately say, woof. I did say that last year. I mean, I did. Just because now we can be encouraged by the fact that there's these young guys who have been great in the minors ready to break out. And that is going to be the driving force of why the Rockies are going to hit the over. Realistically, if the over under was set at maybe like 73 wins, that's where I'm starting to lean, because I really do think that this is a 73 to 75 win team. That's really where I think this team's going to end up, but that'll get you the over. So Folks, sorry for the tech issues. Sorry for the weird look on YouTube, but we made it through. The audio version is going to be better. So if you want to get the show kind of a little bit easier, it might be easier on the audio side, but we got the two videos up, and we'll just kind of be right there for you to enjoy and check out. So you can check it out there. And yeah, it's we'll see how things think. A lot of things have to go well for the Rockies for them to hit the over in this, sure. But I think I think it's a lot more likely than all of the things going wrong for the Rockies to necessarily be one of the worst teams, if not the worst team in baseball. And again, I do not think the Rockies are a bottom 3 team in baseball. Are they bottom 8, bottom 10, bottom 7? Yeah, I would say that's a safer bet. But if for me, if I was to take this bet, I would be taking the over 65.5 wins for the Colorado Rockies here. So, yeah, apologies again for our tech issues. But again, you can find us free and streaming on your favorite streaming service anytime. Just following us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. That way you can be part of the chat, just like Lux, Ace, Nicholas, Delvo, Eric, Harper, at Rocks Hot Takes, Ryan Tartaletsky, Caleb Cole, Rat King. Oh, how Rat King says, how would we win less games than last year? KB returning in depth adds plus balanced schedule should add wins from last year. I am with you there, Rat King. I really do feel like there are things that the Rockies are going to be interesting. The Rockies will be a more interesting team than people think. And folks, that's going to do it, like I said, for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel, join in on the live chat, hang out with us here, and be part of the show by following on Locked On Rockies on YouTube and on Twitter. The Twitter's going to start getting more active as well, folks, at LO Rockies. Now that the season's going to be back, we'll be a little bit more active there. And we got Rockies baseball, real in-game action coming up real soon. We'll be breaking it all down right here on Locked On Rockies. Go make Locked On MLB Prospects your second listen of the day, or maybe go make Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, or Locked On Nuggets your second listen of the day. And until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast. Oh, I forgot hold on, here we go. I know, the big ending reveal. Ready?